And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather for Monday morning. Showing a lot of IFR out here over the Bering Sea with the frontal system and low pressure moving eastward here, with IFR extending in along the southwest coast here into northern Bristol Bay, north through the Bering Strait, covering the North Slope and Arctic coast. South of the Brooks Range here, good VFR just about all along the Yukon River, Kuskokwim River as well, and Tanana Valley. Marginal VFR, central eastern Alaska Range, southward across the Copper River Basin, down to the North Gulf Coast, covering all of the Panhandle. VFR for the Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound area. And for Monday afternoon, marginal VFR covering Kodiak Island, Fogneck Island northward though. Good VFR right up to the North Slope there. Then you pick up the marginal VFR in that area out to the Arctic coast. And diminishing marginal VFR, but still quite an area here holding over the Copper River Basin, as well as about Yakutat on down to Dixon Entrance, across all of the southeast coast. IFR here over the central northern Bering Sea, in across Nunivak Island. And then marginal VFR along the coast and a short ways inland here, but not too far east over the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. Marginal VFR for the Aleutians, IFR here for the Alaska Peninsula. And for the morning hours Tuesday, northern Bering Sea through the Bering Strait into the Chukchi Sea, North Slope Arctic coast. All IFR there, central interior here, again south of the Brooks Range down to the Alaska Range, VFR. And then some marginal VFR here south of the mountains there, especially into Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula. IFR now up into Kodiak Island. Marginal VFR for the Aleutians, and improving here for the southeast coast, Yakutat and most of the Panhandle. VFR, some marginal VFR southern areas. And then for the afternoon Tuesday, marginal VFR right along the outer coastline. Otherwise, the southeast coast, not too bad. VFR over the inside waters. Copper River Basin, central eastern interior, VFR. North Slope, marginal. Central eastern Arctic coast, areas of IFR there. And still an area of IFR here out over the northern Bering Sea. And staying off the coastline, it looks at this point in time, although it may get up into the Nome area and through the Bering Strait. Marginal VFR here, southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians. IFR for Kodiak Island, another zone of IFR here over the eastern Kenai Peninsula, on up into western Prince William Sound, especially Passage Canal, Whittier area, and probably spilling into the Portage zone as well. And from there, looking at passes, Hanatuvik and Adigan, the Brooks Range up there, marginal at times throughout the day on Monday. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR, rainy, VFR, windy, also looking pretty good tomorrow, VFR. And Isabel, VFR, Mentasta, marginal VFR. And for Tanita, VFR, Portage starting out marginal, becoming VFR. And for Chilkoot and White, occasionally marginal. Freezing levels, 6,000 feet here over the north central interior, say from the Selawik Valley eastward into the Koyukuk Valley, there down to about Tanana, and cooler air aloft here about 2,000 feet over the eastern North Gulf Coast, 2,000 to 4,000 feet over the southern Panhandle. Out here to the west, we've got 2,000 feet now up near the Pribilof Islands, 8,000 feet along and just south of the Fox Islands. And icing, again that front low pressure coming across the Bering Sea, considerable moderate rime icing. Pretty good area here over the northern Bering into the southwest coast, Bristol Bay. And with a trough out here, another batch swinging in across the southern Bering Sea. Icing free over the interior up to the Arctic coast, or at least nothing of any significance. That includes the Panhandle. And for the jet stream here, got 130 knots with this eastward traveling upper low in the Bering Sea there. Excuse me, 130 knots out of the west-southwest, becoming more westerly as it crosses the Aleutian Range here and then cutting over southern Kodiak Island. About 110 knots, much lighter with some high pressure here over the interior areas. And for 9,000 feet, big low pressure out over the Bering Sea. And we've got 55 knot winds there blowing around the southern quadrant of that system, turning south 40 to 50 knots, Nunivak Island down toward the Alaska Peninsula. about 35 knots here over the mid and lower Yukon River Valley area, and that's about it. High pressure making winds light from the Gulf here all the way up to the Arctic coast. West-northwest, maybe up to 40 or 35 to 40 knots across the southern panhandle. 3,000 feet though, light winds, Gulf of Alaska, southeast coast, interior Alaska, up to the Arctic coast. A little breezier here as you head west, right along the coastline here and just off, especially Nunivak Island, south to southeast, 45 knots. West winds 40 knots, blowing across the southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians into the Alaska Peninsula. Turbulence, occasional moderate turbulence here for the western Alaska Peninsula to Unalaska Island, and then another zone here from about Atka westward to Kiska Island. Otherwise light to Haisley and moderate chop here right along the southwest coast, St. Lawrence Island, Nunivak Island, and nothing of any significance here over mainland Alaska, the Gulf, or the Panhandle.